These are important settings on the Ableton Push 3 you need to change right now. These will not only improve the push, but make it more tailored to you. Hey, my name's Craig. Welcome to the channel. Let's jump straight into it. To open up the settings on your Ableton Push 3, you simply go up to the little cog icon here, and this will open up your settings. This brings up everything you need to adjust from audio settings to pad sensitivity. Let's first start with the status. In this menu, the two dials you're going to want to play around with is the display light and LED brightness. Why is that important? This thing, when not plugged into the mains, runs on a battery. So the brighter the screen and the pads, the quicker your battery is going to run out. So when you take this out and about, be sure to turn down your display light and your LED brightness. Also, a little bonus tip, if you're out and about, not using the Wi-Fi, having that on also drains the battery. Turn the Wi-Fi off and you can extend the Push 3 standalone's battery life. Next up is expression. It's been a long time since I got this push. Now, straight out of the box, I can't remember if it's in Poly Aftertouch or MPE mode. But if you're in Poly Aftertouch, this is great for playing chords and keeping them in tune. But if you really want to unpack the pads on the Push 3, you're going to want to switch it into MPE mode. For those that you don't know, MPE stands for MIDI Polyphonic Expression. You can get there by just turning it up. You see, now we have a few more options for MPE mode. This means we can have a slide up and down parameter. We can do the pitch bend as well as the aftertouch. So if I come out of settings here and find a synth, I'm able to select a note and then slide. Fantastic. We also have the ability to go up and down. You see that also adjusts some parameters inside the synths. Now, a very important setting with this is this in tune location. We can set it to pad or finger. Now, because we can move the tuning around, this affects where the note stays in tune. If we have it set to finger, that means wherever your finger lands on the pad, it will be in tune. Then once you do the slide, it will start from that point. Now, if we put that to pad, that basically means there is a fixed central location for the tuning. So if I put my finger slightly to the left or right, it's going to be out of tune. Me personally, I like to keep things in tune, so I switch that to finger. Then the in tune width is the amount of the pad that is in tune. Put this to the maximum if you are using pad. If you set the in tune location to pad and have a very small in tune width, I mean, that's cool for some sound designy things, but if you want to stay in tune, you've got more of a chance if you have a wider in tune length. Then slide height adjusts how much room you've got to adjust the parameter going up and down. Put it to a smaller value and there's not much change at all. Cool, so my go-to settings for this are finger, and then around about 10 millimeters around there. Okay, next is sensitivity. This deals with the sensitivity of the pads. Now we have a few parameters to wrap our heads around here. We've got threshold, drive, compand, and range. What does that do? They essentially control how much pressure you need to apply to the pads on the Push 3 to trigger a note. I'm going to switch to a drum kit here so I can demonstrate this. If you play lightly, you want to lower the threshold and increase the compand. That way the pads are going to be very responsive to a light touch. And if you play hard, all you need to do is simply increase the range. That way you can dig into the pads a lot more and take full advantage of the full velocity range. If you like to get the pads on the push to feel like an Akai MPC, these are the settings you need to set. So you want a low threshold, you want the compand all the way up, the range about midway, and turn the drive all the way up. Nice. Next, audio settings. Let's go audio. Now, this is probably one of the hottest debates in music production, and that is, what sample rate do you record at? Now, the industry standard sample rate is 44.1. and that covers the extremities of the human hearing range. But if you're like me, I like recording 48. That way you're not going to run into any digital aliasing. And for most recording situations on the Push 3, it's going to sound a bit better. Now, buffer size is an important setting. If you don't know what buffer size is, it deals with the latency. If you're running more plugins on the Push and you're in a mixing stage, you want to increase the buffer size. That will free up the processing power, enabling you to have more plugins without the Push crashing. Then if you come to record something in with the Push, you're going to need to lower the buffer size. Now, this may affect the performance of the Push as it requires more processing power to have a lower buffer size. But the benefits of a lower buffer size is you don't get much latency. But if you experience latency issues when recording, lower the buffer size as far as your Push can handle it. Then when you're in the mixing stage, increase the buffer size to get more processing power. Now, a good midpoint is about 128. If that's not working, obviously lower it or increase it. Next thing that I think's worth noting, so obviously you can set your preamps in here. If, however, you would like to use a condenser mic, the Push 3 does not give you phantom power. You would need to get an external preamp. If you'd like to figure out how to do that, I've done a video on that up here, so you can watch that when you're finished with this video. But this is where you would set it to line or instrument or high. Then you have your gain. Then this is the interesting part that's quite handy. And one of the really cool things with the Push is we can get different sets of outputs here. So we can set our headphones to be 1 and 2. Or if we go down here, we can set them to be 3 and 4. So that gives us 4 individual outputs on the Push 3. You would just need to get a Y splitter cable, which is an adapter you plug into the output headphones, and it will send the left down one channel, the right down another channel. So you've got 4 individual outputs there, which is great. And you can switch it around as well. So you could have 1 and 2 come out of the headphones and 3 and 4. So you've got some routing options for live, which is amazing. But for most uses at home, you want to keep it to 1, 2, 1, 2. It basically means you hear what's coming out of the main output. Then if you're going to be using an ADAT device, you can select the clocking. Now, if you want the Push to clock it, you set this to internal, and then you set the clock on your ADAT device to external. Next up is MIDI. Now, one thing that is really important about understanding this is you got user port and external port. Why have we got 2 ports? What's going on? So the user port deals with the USB, so that's going into the computer. So if you have this hooked up in controller mode, all the settings you have set up here deal with that. You scroll down here and you go to external port, that deals with the ports on the back here. Then you have track, sync, remote. Track deals with playing the MIDI notes, and then remote deals with any control messages you're sending if you want to control any parameters to external synthesizers or have a controller put next to the Push and come into one of the inputs and control some of the parameters there. You would need to have remote turned on, do the mappings in Ableton Live, then put the session back on the standalone. At present, there's no way to do custom MIDI mappings directly on the standalone. You have to transfer the project and bring it back here. Sync is if you would like to sync the internal clock for all the sequencing, basically like the metronome, to an external clock. You have an input here, so that's the input, or what you can do is press sync on output. That's where you can sync all your hardware with the Push 3. Now, if you're interested in doing that, or you've already tried doing it, you know the clock in the Push 3 yet isn't very stable. I've done another video here where I look at using Ableton Push 3 with an external MIDI clock to make sure everything stays locked in time. And there I did a deep experiment on it. You can check that out there. Next is pedals and CV. You can do a really cool trick here. You have 2 inputs and outputs here on the back that deal with either trigger, sustain, or CV out. Trigger is where you can send in an on-off message on a pedal. This is really cool for launching scenes and turning on and off record via a sustain pedal. Also, you can have the sustain pedal to do the sustaining the notes. Then this is really cool. We can switch it out to control CV. Again, if you want to learn how to control modular stuff with your Push 3, I've done another video on it here. This is a big one. You do not want to miss this one. Thank you if you made it this far, but now you're going to be rewarded. First up is workflow. Now you have two options. You can either be in clip, or if you turn it to the left, you can go into scene. And this really helps you duplicate clips or scenes quickly. Now, if you're in the default clip workflow, come out of settings here. If I hold down select, click this clip here, and if I press duplicate, it will duplicate it. Now, if I hold down select and click a scene here, unmarked scene, press duplicate, it will just duplicate the selected clip to the next scene. Now, if I go back to workflow and go to scene, this is what I normally have it set to. Rather than duplicating individual clips, I can duplicate the entire scene. So if I hold down select here and say I want this scene here duplicated, I just press duplicate and it's now duplicated that whole line. So I can then go in and delete a few options, press the scene, then come down here. Really cool for arranging stuff very quickly. Next is exclusive arm and exclusive solo. Turn these off. Boom, boom. See you later. So this means you can solo more than one track at the same time. Also, you can record, enable more than one track at the same time. So you could have a drum rack set up to re-record, a synth, and also you could have your vocals and guitar plugged in, all ready to record. This is especially wicked for live looping and performances like that. The next thing, again, boom, see you later. Select on launch. This we want to go away. Let me show you the problem. If you have that on, if I come back into this track here and say I go to my devices here and I go to my master and I have a filter and I'm doing a build, say let's do it. Take all this out and say I just want to bring in this drum kit here. The screen is completely changed. I was here and then I press this and what it does is it selects that track when you launch a clip. Bye. Now if you go back, that won't happen again. Now let's do the same thing. I'm going to do this frequency here. Bring in a new bass. 2, 3, 4. Do you see there? It's still on that filter on the master. This is essential for live performance. So if you haven't already gone into your settings and turn select on launch off now, drop everything you're doing, run to your Ableton Push 3 and turn that off right now. Last but not least is software tab, probably the most boring one. But if you've changed all these settings and then you start playing a song, go, man, I hate you, Craig. You've completely ruined my push. All these settings you suggested are rubbish. You can hold down shift and then some more options come up and you can reset your push back to factory settings. So now your push is all dialed in. Hopefully it's feeling a lot smoother. If you're still having a bit of trouble getting your workflow together, getting up to speed with the Push 3, I have a free course on the Push 3, which is linked here. Scan that QR code, get a free sample pack as well. That will also give you access to my weekly newsletter. If you're not a fan of that, you can just watch another tutorial on how to get started here on YouTube. Bye for now. See you in the next one.